Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. Welcome my weary, tired, drained DC fans. Now we have one update, DCU update for you today. James Gunn says that the show Waller is still in development. I'm shocked by this. I thought they would have started shooting this ages ago. I dare to say that it's in development hell. But Waller isn't what I want to talk about today. One side note is that Viola Davis, who's a great actor, is very, very busy. So it's really hard to nail her down to do anything because she's just got so many other things to do. Be interesting to see if that project ever happens. But I want to talk about Superman. I want to talk about this upcoming movie. I want to talk about the decision to launch the DCU with Superman. I said from the very beginning, I questioned whether it was the best of ideas to launch with Superman, even though he's my favourite character in fiction. Because I think there's an expectation with Superman. You put a big pressure on yourself. You know, there's been a lot of debate what kind of box office this film will or won't make. Let's look at previous Superman films' box office. So the first three Christopher Reeve Superman movies were huge hits. Superman 78, the biggest of the three, Superman 3 making 100 million. Now back then 100 million was a lot of damn money, but not as much as the other two made. Superman 4 was clearly a flop. Superman Returns didn't even clear 400 million. And Man of Steel made a solid 650 million, but the studio wasn't happy. Batman vs Superman made a not to be sniffed at 850 million. And so it's been interesting with Superman box offices in the past, but if it were me personally, I wouldn't have launched with Superman. Now, one of the films on James Gunn's slate is The Authority. This is the film I would have launched with because there's a low expectations. No one's heard of it. It's a bit like Iron Man. Nobody's going to expect too much, so there's less pressure on it. And also, you can still have a populated, living and breathing DC universe. You could still have a Superman in this Authority movie. You could introduce other DC characters like Lex Luthor and other characters that they're introducing in this Superman movie. I don't believe launching the DCU with Superman was a James Gunn idea. I think it's a David Zaslav idea. Also, I would no way have announced a slate before the first movie was released. It's a bit like giving a series a season order without broadcasting the pilot. There's not a lot of logic that goes in to modern day Hollywood. We're hearing about all these projects, not just the ones on the slate. You know, Sergeant Rock, which is very exciting with Daniel Craig, if they manage to get him to pen that deal with the director of Queer. Wow, it's very ambitious. It excites me. But as I've said many times before, without us knowing how well or how badly Superman is going to do, it's a problem. I've said it before, I don't think they're going to cancel the DCU if Superman flops. I think they will go forward for a little while longer, but when you're coming from a losing position, it's a bit difficult. It's a bit like Man of Steel. You can't call 650 million a flop, but it also divided audiences, not as much as the second movie did, Batman vs Superman. So you're kind of coming from a losing position, constantly trying to convince the audience that what you're doing is right. Now, someone posted a little paragraph from a Variety article talking about the pressure that Superman is under to deliver 100 million, 100 million opening weekend. This is what I mean. There's so much riding on it for the studio. This is a debt-ridden company. They need a hit. They haven't been making consistent big hits, WB, for a very long time. And then there's, the DCEU and everything that went right and wrong with that. Again, they're coming from a losing position. There's the Henry Cavill fans, there's the Snyder fans. Everyone's coming from different positions. And the problem with Superman is there's so many different versions. So for someone like James Gunn, it's very, very difficult. So he's decided to do a little bit of Kingdom Come, a little bit of All-Star Superman to try and please everyone. But if you look at the optimistic Superman everyone bores on about, how they want a colourful, fun, optimistic Superman, well, Siegel and Schuster's vision for Superman wasn't an optimistic, colourful character at first. He didn't fly. He was a social justice warrior. He was beating up cruel employers. He was beating up abusive husbands. He wasn't fighting Brainiac and he wasn't fighting General Zod. He was a very different character, and no one's ever tried to adapt Siegel and Schuster's true vision of the character. Dick Donner adapted the version that was around at the time, and you can understand why. America had just come out of the Nixon presidency administration. They just come out of Vietnam. Hollywood wanted to paint a more optimistic picture of America. That's what the world needed then. And if we're honest, that's what the world needs right now. So I'm not saying James Gunn is wrong going after a more optimistic, brighter, smiley Superman. It's probably not the right time to go down a dark direction, but James Gunn does have some darkness within his movies, and he has some very, very interesting commentary in his films. For me, it's very important to be honest with you guys and girls, to tell you what I think constructively. I do believe, as I say every day, and I have to preface everything I say about James Gunn, I do like him. I think he's a really good, capable writer-director. But that doesn't mean I'm going to kiss his butt every day. I say this every day, but it's important that you understand. Critiquing someone negatively doesn't mean dislike or toxicity. I have to be allowed to come in honestly. Sometimes I'm going to praise the guy, sometimes I'm going to negatively critique the guy. And as long as I'm constructive, that's okay. You should want that. What you shouldn't want is a kind of passive-aggressive, positive butt kisser, because those kind of people really wind me up, because they have no objectivity in their conversations. I'm objective as I can be about DC, which I'm obsessed with, as objective as I can be as with this character here, because I'm obsessed with him. He's my favourite character in fiction. I still don't think we should have launched the DCU with Superman, and I think the Authority would have been a better place to start and to launch it, because there is no expectancy, there is no pressure. And also, as I said earlier, what you don't do is announce this huge slate that may never happen. Now he says now, because James does talk a lot, maybe a bit too much at times, and he says everything on the slate is in development and will happen. But a few weeks back, I could have swore the guy said that not everything on the slate is definitely going to happen. So sometimes you just don't know where you are with James. He does like to talk. I think his communication with the fans is good. Snyder used to do it as well on Vero. It's a good thing. But you can talk too much and you can contradict yourself and you can dig yourself a deep hole. And at times, James Gunn is doing this. But his work will do the talking for him. And when it comes to comic book stuff, as far as I'm concerned, James Gunn hasn't put a foot wrong. I've enjoyed his Guardians movies. I think the Suicide Squad is exceptional. And I think Peacemaker is also exceptional. I'm re-watching that to prepare myself for Creature Commandos. With Superman, it's a wait and see situation. But the Superman movie that James is now editing, actually I think he's editing Peacemaker Season 2 right now. He's nearly finished filming and producing that show. But I think it's an unknown quantity. We know very little about this movie. We knew so much more about Superman Returns and Man of Steel at this stage. That's both a good thing and a concerning thing, but I can't wait to see this trailer. I can't wait to react to this trailer on YouTube. To the people who follow me on Instagram, I don't think I'm allowed to do a trailer reaction on Instagram, so we won't do that. So if you want to see my Stickman trailer reaction when the trailer is released, it will be on my YouTube channel, Movies TV Mad. Now don't forget, there's a brand new social media platform called Blue Sky, which I'm really enjoying being a part of. So it's Mick, your host with the most, at Movies TV Mad, bluesky.com, whatever it is, right? If you've got an account on Blue Sky, come and find me. So I'm doing the usual things. I'm trying to avoid the negativity. I'm less reactive on Blue Sky because I think it's a more positive place. I think I'm going to get myself banned if I act the way I do on X Twitter. So I'm trying to be more about the movies and TV and the GIFs and, you know, things like that, and just being a bit more fun, lighter version of myself. Well, that's it for today. I will be back tomorrow.